All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to everybody. Today's devotional is on Mark 5:36. So I'm going to read starting at Mark 5, verse 35 to 40 to give you some context here. While he was still speaking, they came from the house of the synagogue official, saying, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher anymore?" But Jesus, overhearing what was being spoken, said to the synagogue official, "Do not be afraid any longer, only believe." Some of your versions may say, "Do not fear, only believe." And he allowed no one to accompany him except Peter and James and John, the brother of James. They came to the house of the synagogue official, and he saw a commotion and people loudly weeping and wailing. And entering in, he said to them, "Why make a commotion and weep? The child has not died, but is asleep." They began laughing at him, but putting them all out, he took along the child's father and mother and his own companions and entered the room where the child was. Now, when the story continues, he says she's just asleep. He raises her from the dead, and everybody is in awe as usual. So to give you some context of 536, do not fear, only believe. A lot of people take that out of context many times. It doesn't mean that you only believe in God and he will take care of everything. It also means using your brain. So if you're in a circumstance like take today with the COVID and the coronavirus going on, do not fear, only believe. I've heard a lot of people say, you know what, God's in control. I'm just going to go out there in big groups, carelessly, without a mask, because I believe in God and God's will be done. Well, God has also put people in places to give us direction, to be safe, to be sensible. It doesn't mean that you fear every time you walk out the door, that if someone were to run into you, that, oh my gosh, I'm going to get the coronavirus. But it does mean take those precautions that are necessary, because God puts those people in place to give us the information to keep us safe. And if we don't heed that advice, that's on us. That's not on God. But the context here with Jesus is Jesus returns to the encounter with a synagogue leader and his ailing daughter. This is just after they paused to describe the woman who had suffered hemorrhaging for years and had touched Jesus's cloak, felt the power go out from him into her and healed her. But the scope of Jesus's power and authority has built kind of up to this moment. He controlled a fierce storm. Remember, he said, "Be still," to the storm when the disciples were in the boat, all afraid. He expelled a legion of demons that he put into those pigs, and then they ran into the ocean, and then healed a chronically ill woman without even trying. And now he raises the dead again. Here's the part that we need to focus on, though. The Greek word for believe here means to be persuaded as true. So a lot of times people, I hear today say, if I was one of the disciples, I had spent 3 years of ministry with Jesus, watching all these miracles, watching how he did things, watching his example, there is no way that I would be afraid. Let's use Peter as an example. During the times of trial, he had denied Jesus 3 times because he was afraid. And now remember, he was one of the major disciples with Jesus. He was one of the leaders, and he spent 3 years with Jesus. He saw the miracles. He saw what Jesus did. And yet at that time, he still didn't believe. So I tell a lot of people today that tell me that if I was with Jesus at the time, or if he was here now, I would follow him without fear. Well, it's our human nature to continue to need reinforcement in that belief. In other words, we can think that when it comes around again, we're always like, I don't know if that's going to happen again, because our faith and our belief waver. What he is saying here is faith is a kind of a conduit that allows the power of God to act. The faith of the woman with the issue of the hemorrhaging was so great that she is healed by Jesus without even Jesus taking an active part. In other words, she didn't approach Jesus and say, "Jesus, can you heal me, please?" She just touched his cloak, but she had such faith in Jesus that she was healed immediately. So when Jesus returns to his hometown in Nazareth, their unbelief kind of keeps Jesus from doing the miracles that he came to do in Capernaum, as described in Mark. So the miracles that Jesus does are meant to identify him as a representative of God or God. They alert people to the fact that his teachings are from God and need to be heeded. Now that those teachings are gathered in the Bible, God works in a slightly different way. Our faith here is required for God to work in us. It doesn't have to be big, just point it in the right direction, which is towards God and Jesus. And it has to be persistent. And the other thing that we have to keep in mind is it has to have the right intent. It's not biblical to have faith that God will give us riches or health. God instead promised to give us what we need to do his will, and our hearts have to be aligned with him. It doesn't mean we can't be healthy, but God is not going to give us health. It doesn't mean that we can't be wealthy, but it does mean God is not going to give us that wealth. He will give us the ability to have faith in him and give us our daily needs. We have to work for those other things. As I've said before, let's keep that in mind when we talk about do not fear, only believe. We have to do our part. We do all that we are able to do, and God will come and do what we are not able to do. If we don't do what we are able to do, God will not do what we are not able to do. So let's keep that in mind this week. Go in faith, study the word this week. Have that strong faith in your heart in God that God will provide you for your daily needs and whatever you need. And then go forward in faith, real, persistent, strong faith, and do not fear, only believe. God bless you all today and have an amazing week. And keep the faith, keep strong. I'll see you all tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. for another challenging workout. Take care now.